Alright, anyways, welcome guys to the patch 9.16 patch no rundown. This is the patch where they introduced an entire new class or synergy, Hextech. So this is definitely going to be an interesting one. Usually every single one of these patches are enormous. Like every other week they have like a huge patch, so small patch, big patch. This is one of their big patches, which should be addressing like major problems in the game, right? Anyways, what do they say? Headline for this patch is the introduction to Hextech Origin, bringing Camille, Jace via Jinx to the Convergence. Bringing Hextechs into your team composition will provide answers to enemy teams relying on a single champion stacked with items. On the flip side, when playing against Hextech, be prepared to spread your items out between your champions and mitigate the disruption. In addition to the fun new stuff, we're also making a few less flashy but hopefully as satisfying improvements to the few team systems in TFT. The randomized round per round matchmaking will no longer put you against the same player multiple times in a row. Excellent. Really good. Oh, additionally, we're limiting the number of round ties by adding the whole new Earth overtime buff that activates at the end of long battles. That's kind of weird. We've been pretty happy with the player damage changes from 9.15. We added some base player damage to keep close games from going too long. Okay. Last but not least, 3 new Little Legends and a second round beta patch out for new stuff in this patch. Okay, cool. Alright, new Origin. So Hextech champions are all strong, serve their own purpose, but they give new counterplay, or they've counterplayed the items. Bombs itself can be played around. We hope this adds a new and interesting dynamic to play around. Throw a bomb at an enemy unit and item and disables all items in 1 to 2 hex radius for 8 seconds. Already, I'm just going to say 8 seconds is insane. Really long time. The way to counterplay this is by spreading out your items. Like, let's talk about why they're introducing Hextech. They're introducing Hextech because one of the predominantly best ways to play the game is to stack one particular carry really hard. And so they want to try to add counterplay to that. I think in general though, especially for how long the disruption adds and it hits multiple targets, like the counterplay to this is that you spread out your units wide, right? Like imagine you're playing Dragon Round, you have a unit like in every other position on the map. I think that it's like playing against Cho'gath, right? Like that's their counterplay for this. I don't know if I think their idea is good, which is disabling item stacking or playing around item stacking. I guess it'll just be I guess we'll just need to see how strong the actual units are, as well as like I think 8 seconds is just way too long. I'll be honest. I don't necessarily know if this is a good way to counterplay item stacking. Generally speaking, like the one thing I don't like in this game is the denial of options. I don't think that you should be able to deny options as much as in this game. The idea is like everyone should have fun doing their own thing, and you can deny their thing in certain ways here and there. But it feels like a lot of times like denial of options is what happens. Like stuff like Glacial, stuff like Hush, stuff like Disarm, stuff like Demon. Denial feels really bad to play against, and I think there's too many denial options at the moment. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that, generally speaking, their item system is too OP. It's really strong. Like, the items make the game, right? And so to play around such a strong system, they've had to build strong items, or I guess in this case, synergies to work around it. They might have dug themselves in a pretty bad hole that way. Like, I think this is probably going to be too strong, but I guess we'll see what happens. Let's look at the new champions. So they added a Blade Master, and I've already played some of these on PvE. So they added a Blade Master, a Shapeshifter, this Shapeshifter, this is a Brawler, and this is a Gunslinger. Cool. So this is kind of interesting. The one thing I do like about the new characters is they all do something fairly unique. So rooting the enemy and forcing units to attack whoever she's fighting, really cool. Kind of like Blitzcrank, call to help on his ulti. Jace knocking them back and then switching to do attack speed is cool. Kind of pushes a front line to the back line kind of thing. Vi targets the furthest enemy and charges toward them, similar to targeting like Aurelion Soul. And also damages on the way. Like this is somewhat good displacement, and I think that's really cool. And then Jinx get excited after her first takedown, getting bonus attack speed. She scores the second takedown, she pulls out fish bones. So she goes from a single target to like super AoE, like hardcore hyper carry. I think one of the things that's nice about Jinx is that this game really tends to lack hard hitting AD threats outside of Draven. So outside of Draven, there's like Rangers, which realistically turn into more like a glacial threat or like a Shiv carrier. Then they turn, or a red buff holder. Then they turn into an actual like damage threat. So it's nice to be able to have an extra additional AD to be able to work with, as well as I think gunslingers tend to fall off. Usually you go Guardian Gunslingers or transition to Blade Masters, and I think it's nice to be able to give the option to have a late game Gunslinger. I think that's cool. I'm not worried too much about the ability damage or any of that. Generally speaking, like we'll kind of see how they work out in the game, but I do like the fact that they're adding like, I would say adding another Blade Master is really interesting, because being able to, this means that hitting 6 Blade Masters is less of a dream and more of a, it's potential possibility every game. Gunslingers getting a late game option is really, really nice. Brawlers didn't really need an option, I'm gonna be honest. I felt like there's a lot of brawlers in the game, maybe too many, and they're very, very good for the majority of the game. And I think adding a Shapeshifter is really nice, because Shapeshifters in general are really weak right now. So I think for the most part, everything outside of Vi makes a lot of sense to add. The one thing I have to note while we're talking about this is the adding of champions removes the option for you to get other champions as easily, because there's only a certain amount of champions in each tier. Like let's say there's like 10 on a 1-cost units in total, or 13 1-cost units in total. Adding another one dilutes the pool. It makes it harder for you to find like pairs or 3 of a kind. It's something to keep in mind that I know they're trying to shift like core sets of the game, and it's something that they're going to need to be really, really conscious of. Adding this many champions is definitely going to dilute the pool for each individual pool, which is why, you know, every champion they add is just one, is none of them overlap in terms of cost. Like they're 1, 2, 3, and 4 to try to dilute different pools instead of all just one, or 2 of just one, which would be probably worse overall. And just in general, they can't really add too many more. Like they're definitely close to hitting the cap, or a cap, especially when it comes to 4 costs. I feel like it's really, really dangerous, because there's only 13 4 costs in the game, and so they need to be really careful when they add new units. They're probably only able to add like less than 5 more units in the game before looking to announce their newest expansion or their set rotation. It's just something that you should keep in mind. Matchmaking. We've improved how player matchmaking works to prevent streaky scenarios where you face the same player or ghost army 2 or 3 times in a row. Now this should almost never happen. Excellent. So nice. Something people have been asking for forever. A lot of times, like, I'd like to be able to play around not hitting like the first place guy twice in a row, and I'm the first place guy hitting the last place guy. Like, I feel bad. I like apologize. I'm sorry, dude. Lovely. Really, really think this is great. Earth Overtime mode. We don't like draws. They aren't fun. So 30 seconds into every battle, Earth Overtime kicks in, speeds things up for 15 seconds. Draws are possible, but there should be a lot less of them. 30 seconds to every battle, the Earth Overtime will activate. Holy shit. Attack speed, AD, or a ability damage is like AP, I guess. That's like your ulti damage, right? Tenacity, healing reduction. Okay. I'm surprised they're doing it 30 seconds to a battle. I guess 30 seconds is quite a bit. I'm a little bit worried that, like, I don't mind their logic behind this. I would probably have preferred like 35 seconds. Because I think 10 seconds of this buff is actually absurd. So this is definitely something interesting. I have to play it before I figure out how good it is. Generally speaking, though, I would have liked less uptime on Earth Overtime and more like a normal thing. Because I don't know if I like a third of the fight time being this, even if it's like the least or the worst third, or least important third of the fight. Anyways, let's keep going. TFT rank system is looking pretty good, so we're taking stock and making a few tuning adjustments, specifically a couple bugs and inconsistencies. You'll almost always be demoted if you lose in any game you start at 0 LP. This will be intended. Additionally, GM and Challenger players who demote will now skip Masters, go directly to Diamond 1. Ouch. I actually think this is necessary. Definitely, I for the losses I've been getting at 0 LP, I should demote. I think that's fine. It's necessary to keep a healthy ladder. If you want to read more about the changes, okay, cool. I don't want to read more. Everyone will be demoted if you lose LP in any game you start at 0. Okay, if you're demoted, yada. We made adjustments to LP underneath the hood for extreme edge cases. You don't know what this means, and I think extreme edge is the top end. So interesting. Okay. Player damage. We made some changes to player damage in patch 9.15. Overall worked well. Lets some games being longer, especially when fights are close. Overall damage should be still be less than at launch. Okay. So the damage increases. The base damage of you losing a round increases from stage 5 and on. The first stages, 2 stages are exactly the same, right? And then stage 5 and on is a lot more. I'm okay with this. I think sometimes the games were lasting a little bit too long. Generally speaking, this is one of their ways to make it so everyone doesn't get a 2 cost, like 5 cost minion. Or 2-star 5 cost minion. This, however, will make it so that I've seen games where people go level 9. Generally speaking, I think level 8 is going to be kind of your cutoff end game, and you'll just stay at level 8 for the rest of the time. Just that's my initial thoughts. But yeah, the game stays exactly the same for these two, right? And it only increases damage from stage 5. By stage 5, like 4 is usually when you're level 7. You all in at 4. 5 is when you hit 8, and that's when games, in my opinion, should end. I don't mind this at all. I think it's okay. Brawlers are quite strong, getting too much free health, so we're toning that down a bit. I'm surprised, actually. They hit. Okay, they hit 100 damage off 4 brawlers, or 100 life off 4 brawlers, and 200 life off 6, which I've never seen yet. Won't matter at all. They might be a little bit too strong though, so sure. Demon. We redesigned the demon trait to be quite not the shutdown of ability dependent units. Instead, demons will drain mana, allowing them to cast their spells faster. 40% chance to burn 20 mana from target. Return 15, 30, 45 mana to attacker. Wow. That's okay. I like the flat chance of burning a small amount of mana. I think it's gonna be a lot less frustrating to play against demons if it's just like a small chance to do that. Returning the mana seems really dangerous, you know. Just in general, I think mana burn is really dangerous in this game. Remember when I talked about denial of stuff? Demons were really strong before because they always denied your ability to play the game. Your frontline couldn't do shit. So I think that they made the burn a little bit better and less denial based. Definitely. Returning this much mana though, seems pretty powerful, especially on stuff that can attack multiple times, like Blade Master, Aatrox. Like he can just pop off really hard with this. So I'm really interested to see exactly how strong demons are. From the earliest feedback that I know people have been playing on PB, that generally speaking, demons are back, or demons are doing a really good job right now. But I think this part is really good. If I personally would just remove mana burn from the game on demons, and I would just leave it to casting the demon burn or mana burn. But outside of that, I think this is pretty healthy way of applying mana burn. This might be the balance problem. But this is definitely better than what's on live right now. So I'm at least happy. I think there's right now a lot of people aren't going demons or shapeshifters, and you want to be able to make like every comp work. So but buffing demons, this is definitely a buff to demons, is ideal. I just don't like it when demons are super meta because they make it so you can't play anything else. So just a heads up. Okay, Ninja. They're not strong single units that have been placed on any team right now. They're not getting in there. They're buffing their trait. Yeesh. It's probably because 2 of the ninjas are assassins and they suck, and assassins aren't very good. I mean, running one ninja, like running one Kennen with Morales is still going to be very strong. A little bit stronger after this patch, but just in general, like you don't really need to buff ninjas. You just need to buff assassins, because ninjas are most likely going to be going assassins. Like the assassins are the problem. It's not so much the ninjas, in my opinion. Okay, so like this, I don't think does anything. Nobles are still underperforming at in-game fantasy. We need to make bigger changes to address this. Oh man. Okay, they gave him 10 more armor and MR. This still isn't really gonna matter. You hitting nobles. If you hit nobles, it means you got lucky. Like you got really lucky. You're doing super well in the game, and you're able to push 7 and get like an early kill, or God forbid you get the 0.5% on 6. And I don't think the 10 armor and MR does anything. It's helpful. It's more than a 10% increase, right? But I think it's going to be the exact same, unless the meta changes more toward I guess physical damage. non Morello gameplay, I think that it's really difficult to be able to put stuff onto. Like I just think of nobles as something you play if you get really lucky. 6 nobles and 3 nobles are good early game, and that's it. I don't mind the buff. They probably did need it. Generally speaking, if you're going 6 nobles, you have like kind of underwhelming Vayne, kind of underwhelming Fiora, good Leona, decent Garen, good Lucian, and great Kale, and that's it. You're using like 2 bad units, 2 good units, and like 2 average units. So generally, that's why 6 nobles doesn't do very well. And that doesn't change with this. But I mean, it's probably one of the best end game buffs. You're just not going to get there, especially not with the player damage changes now, right? Sorcerer, 3-piece Sorcerer is a little too strong. Absolutely. Do this versatility. Agreed. So they're nerfing 3 Sorcerers by 5%. Okay. I mean, I'm down. Probably a lot of changes to other stuff like demons, and maybe shapeshifters will help curb everyone going sorcerers. So maybe they need more, but I definitely could have seen a little bit bigger of a nerf to this. We'll see. While it's still underperforming, we're making it a little bit stronger. This is really dangerous. Holy shit. I think WoW has gotten buffed in every other patch or every patch I've played the game on. And the problem itself isn't necessarily the buff. Like, the the buff itself is good. Like, if I were to tell you I'm giving you 60% attack speed on Draven, you're gonna be like, hell yeah, dude, slap that shit on me. The biggest problem is that the wild units individually they don't really synergize super well outside of shapeshifters, right? And they do, aside from most of the units require an item or two to be able to do well, and they're all basically early game carries. The exception of Rengar and Gnar are 2, but like I think a lot of the reason why Wild is underperforming is because Wild as an opener is relatively weak unless you hit like the items or the perfect opener, right? Because the only Wild opener you can go revolves around Warwick as your front line, and Nidalee or Arya as your back line. Whereas if you go knight openers, right, it's a lot more flexible. You have 4 different knights to pick from. You can throw 2 of them in there. Nobles work off knights, so you're just naturally going to get more non-wild openers than you are wild openers. And I don't necessarily think the wild units are awful. Like, a lot of them are good early game units. It's just that most of them don't synergize well late game, so you're only running usually 2 wild. I don't necessarily think this fixes the problem. I just think this makes like the maybe my thoughts on this are just like, yeah, maybe wild shapeshifter sorcerers is a little bit better, you know, which is cool, especially. And then maybe wild brawlers is better too. I don't really know how good the new brawler is, but and maybe wild void, maybe, but I don't necessarily think the buff is bad. I just think the units are really weird to synergize with, and they need specific items to be able to carry, especially early game. At some point, WoW is going to be too strong. Maybe it's at this point now, but this has gotten buffed super bad. Or it's not super bad, a lot recently. I don't know why I said super bad. And so at some point, it's going to get dangerous. I'm just letting you know. More than likely, you're still going to be seeing a lot of 2 wild compositions, like the Rengar stacking with 1 wild, or the I guess no one really goes shapeshifters, like stuff with Gnar. But that's about it. Okay, anyways, let's keep going. Elise, she's garbage. So Elise is the only unit in the game I sell. If I get a 2 cost unit Elise early, I just sell her. Buffs to her, really good. Makes shapeshifters a lot better. I really approve of buffs. She's actually the worst unit in the game. I'm not even kidding. Kha'Zix has damage nerfed. I know a lot of people were annoyed by early Kha'Zix damage, isolations. I think a lot of it was the positioning requirement against Kha'Zix is a little bit annoying, especially when a lot of the Kha'Zix comps also run blitz. I think that might be something that Riot just needs to look into in general. Like, I think the meta being brawler focused, I don't like metas where there's blitz crank in every game. And I think it's really obnoxious to play against. I do blitz checks in all of my game, every point in my game. And this problem naturally fixes itself if brawlers aren't like the top tier meta pick. So maybe I'm just stupid to complain about it. But positioning around stuff like Blitz as well as Kha'Zix sometimes very difficult, especially early game. Mordekaiser can only cast the ability if no units are in range to start a cast time. Cool. He's just an average unit. I think that's fine. His buff is really powerful. Works well with knights. Not a big deal. Nidalee now always heals 2 units when she transforms. Previously, she only heal herself if she had the lowest H health. Oh, I didn't even realize this was a bug. I was wondering why her heal broke. This is cool. I mean, she's a strong, like, there's nothing wrong with Nidalee. She's a strong unit, and with the wild buff, she's gonna be better. But she just needs some items to do well, and usually she only scales into like okay, so you just throw the items off later. Vayne, she actually got a nerf on her attack speed. Alright, so Vayne was the highest attack speed ranger in the game. Kindred's the lowest, I think at 0.765. Ash Varus were both 0.7, she was 0.75. Which means generally if you want the highest punching damage, you would stack her with like damage items, like shifts or something. And everything else was more utility based. In this situation, she ended up losing the attack speed, but increasing the percentage of max damage dealt. I think it encourages you going stuff like Rage Blade over things like Shiv, which is and Hurricane. It's okay. I guess the itemization just changes. Nothing else outside of that. I think it's fine. Maybe that because it means that she got better in situations where she doesn't have items, right? Like, and maybe even because if she's not stacked, she technically will do what seems like more damage with the ranger buff. And if she is stacked, especially with raw attack speed items, she'll do more damage overall. I think it's fine. It's okay. Probably Vayne's a really interesting Hurricane user. I need to test more with Hurricane right now. Hurricane is crushing people with Draven at the moment, and I've seen a lot of play in Rangers through Ashe. So I'm really interested to see like maybe there's a more damage oriented option with Vayne. Moving on, Braum saw 100 health nerf. Okay, I wasn't really too annoyed by Braum, but him getting nerf, okay, whatever. Lissandra, total mana to required to cast her ability. Yes, she needs buffs. Even if she's the elementalist tax, I think she's an awful unit. Worst tier 2 champ in the game. So down to 125, great. Lulu, nerfed by 75. It's 150 health over 2 targets, right? Because Lulu can hit 2 targets and three targets here. Okay, I would say that maybe she's too good. I can respect that. Zed got a buff. Holy shit. He got 50. So they buffed ninjas, and then they buffed. Remember I said that they need to buff like assassins? I mean, if you buff ninja and buff Zed, he gets 50 more health, more attack speed, and 50 more ability damage. Okay, the ability damage is kind of irrelevant. I'm gonna be honest. This stuff is more interesting because Zed tends to be the unit you stack with 80 items. I like it. It's really strong. I need to experiment probably with Hurricane Zed here, because if you RFC Hurricane someone on Zed, you probably will do a ton of damage. A critting for like 1400 with 6 assassins might be very interesting. I think Zed's supposed to be one of the premier auto attack based champions in the game alongside Rengar, and I think that he needs some buffs to be able to do that, to match Rengar at all. I like the buffs. Aatrox no longer starts his ability if there's no units to cast. Okay, that's good. Now prioritizes their current target with their ability. No longer casts. Okay, that's good. No longer casts if there's no enemies in range. Okay, that's good. Her attack damage went up by 15. That's actually a pretty big buff, actually, because attack damage multiplies with assassin buff. Cat's really interesting. She's an assassin that doesn't require assassin. Like, all you need on her is items, and because her ulti can't crit. Oh shit, sorry. So because her ulti can't crit, it's like you need 60 mana on her, and then she can kind of do her stuff. She prefers the Imperial buff to anything else. I guess this makes her a little bit better when you're going assassins, which makes more sense. It'd probably make more sense if her ulti could just crit. I'm gonna be honest, but we'll see. Kenny can no longer cast ability. Okay, these are all like AI buffs, right? And Shyvana leap AI to better kite away from target. Oh, cool. Because sometimes she just ultied into the other person died. They buffed like they buffed a lot of assassins. They buffed 2 ninjas here. So she gets 10 more attack damage, which is nice because Assassin's multiplicative scaling, right? On top of the fact that like I think ninja assassins need a lot of help right now. Brand. So, oh, he has 50 starting mana, so he's able to get almost one guaranteed ult off. Okay, the biggest problem with Brand, I'm gonna be honest with you. Brand's problem isn't that Brand like his damage is too low. Actually, if you look at Brand's numbers, you're just like, holy shit, Brand slaps people with these numbers. The problem is Brand's speed on his ulti is too low. One of the ways they're fixing it is they're trying to make it so you cast the ulti faster. But if you just made the ulti bounce faster, that would help out a lot. Like, you don't need to really buff the damage. Like Brand is Brand just needs to be a little faster. For sure. Anyways, next thing, Cho'gath. I think Cho'gath's crazy good right now. Super strong. They nerfed him by quite a bit. I was expecting like 50 damage across the board. They nerfed him by 150. You're probably not going to see too much of this champion. Well, maybe, depending on the strength of brawlers, but you won't see like Void Sorcerer brawlers being as dominant, because I think that like, yeah, this is a pretty enormous nerf. He only lost 50. It was 400 already. Wait, why are these patch notes so weird? Okay, then maybe he'll still be fine. Oh, they hot. I didn't even realize they hot fixed them. What? Then he'll definitely still see play. I think one of the best things about Cho'gath is his ability to spread Morellos, because his ulti is so wide that you're able to hit the most amount of units with it. I mean, aside from maybe like tier 2 Karthus or a Soul with a really good position, Cho'gath is the best Morellos user in the game, and so you don't really even need damage on this ability to burn everyone for 20%. So, yeah. I still think, you know what? I'm happy with the 50 damage nerf. We'll see what happens later, but I think especially with the dominance, like if demons come back, frontline casters are automatically weaker, if that makes sense. So like the way to beat Cho'gath right now is you run Hush, you run Glacial to CC the front line. And now that demons are stronger again, Cho'gath, naturally his power will become weaker as well, regardless if you have GA or not. So I think there might be some, like, that alone is going to nerf Cho'gath stacking by quite a bit. Karthus, oh wow, they actually nerfed him quite a bit. They don't want him getting multiple ults off, so they gave him, his max mana went from 85 to 125. Holy shit. He's a Shojin user now. Because he used to be a double Seraphs user to get his ulti off instantly, but now the likelihood of you getting 2 ultis off in the fight is very, very, very low. Jesus. Kale's attack speed got decreased. I don't necessarily know if this is necessary. She was the highest attack speed unit in the game. Now shares with Fiora as the highest attack speed units in the game. Okay. And MF got buffs. Thank God. This is the worst 5-cost unit in the game. To the point where I wouldn't give up Graves 2 for MF1. But maybe with her mana cost decreasing by 25, which is quite huge, means double Seraph's autocaster ulti. She's gonna be pretty good. That's pretty good. The biggest problem with MF though is her targeting is really strange. Her targeting, she ultis the unit she auto attacks, but her cone wants coverage like ASOL, and ASOL's targeting is ASOL targets the farthest away unit. And so like a lot of times with MF, like if she autos the closest unit, which is the assassin, it's gonna be positioned like in an awkward direction. You're just gonna ulti in the middle of nowhere. I think they need one of the things that could really help her out is like just fixing the AI for MF, like maybe making it Soul AI so that, yeah, it actually helps her from throwing stupid ultis. All right, let's keep going. Hush now has 33% chance to hit to prevent the champion from gaining mana. Oh. Damn, I need a like clarification. So mana lock exists in the game, and if they're using properties of mana lock on Hush, then this isn't as bad. Like this isn't as good as you would think, because the way mana lock works right now is every champion in the game has a amount of time from when they cast their ulti to when they can gain mana again. So, for instance, if you ever Seraphs in the Kali with a lot of attack speed, she won't gain mana on her first auto attack after the Seraphs because she's mana locked out. Usually, it's like 1 second is a mana lock. So if the mana lock is exactly the same, they can still gain mana from getting hit. They just can't get mana. They can't gain mana for auto attacking. And that's a big difference, you know, because they can still cast spells with Hush. I don't know exactly what this is. Like, I have no idea. Let's just talk about both. So if it's actually they can't cast and it can't gain any mana, it's broken. Like, it's super good. Frontliners are literally never gonna cast ultis. And you'd probably splash this onto Rangers with Hurricane to make it so no one can cast. Okay, but let's say it's the way that I think it's gonna be, which is you just get mana locked. You can't generate mana. It's gonna be a lot weaker because a lot of times you push to silence frontline for being able to cast, like the silence Cho'gath or Gnar for being able to cast abilities, and they're still gonna gain mana from the auto attacks that they take. So yeah, it's gonna be I would say it's gonna be a lot weaker if it's mana locked correctly. Sure, they nerfed the chance of Hush proccing from 50% to 33%. But I still, and they increased the time from 3 seconds to 4. Generally speaking, I still think it'd probably be too good if it's the former, where you just mana lock all mana gain, but we'll see what happens. You don't get mana from getting hit anymore. It's on PBE. Huh. That seems really powerful. I'll have to play with it, but general thoughts seems super good. Wow, this thing. All right, so we talked about champions being really, really bad, and so like, obviously, I played a lot of assassins, and I lost a lot with assassins in the last like week or two. To the point where I stopped playing assassins. I think, but them buffing IE is pretty good because I think generally the item never sees play unless it's on Draven or tier 3 Trist or assassins. And even then, assassins just don't want this item because assassins would prefer RFC to this item most of the time, or BT to this item most of the time. So I think buffing IE, good call. Eventually, it's gonna be good, right? I think it's getting there. It's really borderline. Ionic Spark's damage decreasing by a little bit, but stacking is actually pretty crazy. It's gonna allow you. So Ionic Spark is built in tanky comps because the longer you elongate the fight, the more Ionic Spark procs. Like, that's just the basis of the item, right? And so if your comp's super tanky, Ionic Spark is really common in like 4 Knight comps or even 6 Knight comps. Noble comps would like Ionic as well because the fights tend to be super dragged out, really, really annoying fights. And so I think that, especially if Earth Overtime didn't exist, I would stack this a lot in Knight-oriented comps. But since it does exist, it's kind of a little bit awkward. I'll still give it a shot. I think the nerf itself makes sense if they stack now. I don't necessarily think the nerf was bad enough to where I think it'll be pretty crazy if you can get 3. If you can get 3 or 4, you're actually gonna just one-shot certain units like Tristana, Lucian, or TF. Or like 2-hit them, and it's gonna be really funny. So it's definitely something I want to try with a more tankier version. Locket duration increasing by 2 seconds. Thank God. This item's the worst item in the game, actually. Increasing to 6 seconds kind of does a lot. That's 50% more, and generally speaking, lockets were really good for comps like assassins or like mages, where like you need to prevent the early upfront damage, and then locket becomes a lot. And then the shield duration existing after 6 seconds might not matter as much because your comp is very front loaded. So I would say that it's probably going to be it should be built for like assassin comps as well as 6 orc comps to kind of tank out before their initial load. But I don't necessarily know if 6 seconds is long enough. It should, in theory, be a lot better. I'll try it out. 6 seconds. There's definitely a number that makes Locket good. Is 6 good enough? I think it'll be decent. Okay, Morello's. And red buff. got nerfed. Okay, wait. Red buff got buffed to 20%, and so Morella's and red buff are exactly the same. The damage is done over double the duration, so it lasts twice as long. So this is a nerf in every way, shape, or form, except for in one situation where the buff stacks twice as long, so you're never going to heal. So my only problem with this is that they doubled the duration of it, which means healing in this game is really awkward because like healing is balanced around you having either 100% healing or 0% healing. So stuff like Swain, if you don't have a red buff on Swain and he's in your team comp, he's full healed the entire time. And if you have red buff on him, he's probably dead. I think at some point they probably need to address Morello's and red buff like negating healing by 100%. It's been talked about here and there, but like this is not going to feel fun if you have any kind of regen oriented stuff, right? Like they added a lot of shapeshifter buffs, or they added new shapeshifter, buff shapeshifters a little bit. You know what shits on shapeshifters? Percentage burn, because they can't, like Warmogs becomes irrelevant, right? And shapeshifter buff, which gives max health, isn't very good. So like these items, which are already core in almost every single comp, like you just need one, because if you're against someone with a BT or someone like Swain, like it's just necessary. It just feels really bad, I would say. All right, but generally speaking, I would say these are good nerfs overall because, yeah, Morello's and red buff are just doing way too much damage. I like that they normalize red buff too. That makes you feel a lot worse about like building like, let's say, Gameplank with red buff, right? It's nice. Gunslingers get buffed the most with this, as well as Rangers, I think, where a lot of damage doesn't come from raw actual damage items. They come from like utility, so that's nice. Redemption. Remember when we talked about how healing works in this game? It's super OP if he heals for full, shit if he doesn't. Redemption is actually good at 1000 HP, but you're gonna have a Morello's on you, so it's not gonna matter. But if you don't have a Morello's on you, it's gonna matter a lot. So 1500, great. You got buffed by 50%. It's probably good early game, but it's probably not gonna see much use. Because there's an inherent problem with healing in this game, and the Mortal Strike debuff. I don't even know why I call it the MS debuff. That's a WoW thing, but you guys know what I mean. Anyway, Shiv, damage it bounces, 4 bounces, 90 damage per bounce, 3 bounces, 100 damage per bounce. So they went to 360 to 300. They nerfed the damage a little bit. I don't even know if Shiv is that good. I'm gonna be honest. Shiv against Knights is like super bad. It's really strong on certain situations, like Rangers obviously with a ton of attack speed. And Shiv is definitely like a great item, like an S tier, A tier item. But the more I play against Shiv, the more I feel like it's a less problematic balance issue than other things. It's like they get Shiv, sure they win a lot, but you know they can do that with Ludens, they can do that with some stuff. I think having a nerf like this, oh, it's okay, well deserved, but this is, I would say, like no more nerfs for sure, because Shiv is gonna be like a terrible item at that point. Warmogs now heals a maximum of 400 per health per tick. Oh, it's mostly the effect on PvE dragon. Oh yeah, I've lost to a Warmogs dragon before. Okay, I like that. This has no irrelevance. It's irrelevant to anything else. Okay. A tool that updated to reflect functionality. Now properly removes GA and resurrects properly. Great. This bug was super obnoxious, and the heal goes down to 5 from. Okay, this is such a funny item. This item went from resing for 500. No one bought it. They buffed it to 1000. People didn't realize, and in demon meta, everyone bought this item because they didn't realize you retain mana. And then like it got nerfed to 800 last patch. Everyone's still buying this because it's the best defensive item in the game. And you know what? At 500, people are still gonna buy it because you save mana. Demons are back, and the biggest problem about demons is they remove your mana, but GA saves your mana through the res. Like they don't need to do this convoluted BS on GA. Honestly, keep it at like 800 to 1000 and make it so you res with like 20% of your mana or 30% of your mana and just chill. Like the fact that you can res with almost your full mana bar is causing humongous balance issues with GA. Like this item is probably still gonna be used, actually. Alright. The new drop mechanic. In rare instances, it's now possible to drop a full complete item instead of 2 components separately. Sure. It makes you use items that you probably wouldn't build, and it makes your games more different on a game by game basis. You're gonna be upset if you get locked if you can't use it. Okay. It's like a nerf to people who high roll a lot of items, right? Because you can just get the items combined into something stupid. But I mean, I think it's just it's okay, I guess. Yeah, it's okay. Graves now properly gains range with rapid fire. I saw Toast with the screenshot of Graves rapid fire hitting like the whole screen. I actually think this is really nice because this buffs my Graves pirate 6 assassin comp, so I'm really excited for that. Spider Gillians and golems can now be a target of Frozen Heart, Kindred, Swain. Okay, that's good. Frozen Heart no longer applies too many slows when stacked. Okay. Now fixed item slots not showing. Okay. Fixed win loss streak being granted after PvE rounds instead of after PvE. What? Wait, this is so important. Wait, I actually the streak gold after it helps your interests, I think. Wait. Yeah, it helps your interest because what happens is you don't get streak gold the round that you go into the PvE round, which is super stupid. So it should be you get streak and you get streak gold after that round, which doesn't make any sense either. So you should just get streak gold in going into the round because it makes logical sense and it helps you manage your econ better around PvE rounds. Yeah. This is really nice. It was actually a really dumb way to have it before. Fix Lulu is just having collision after dying. Okay. And fix Blitzcrank attempt and failing to target untargetable units and therefore not casting. Whoa. I don't know what this means. Because is it just like his AI changed 2 patches ago? So is it just he's now guaranteed an ulti every time? Because if he targeted the assassin with Blitzcrank, he will then retarget again after the assassin jumps. You don't get the assassin, you get whatever the farthest unit away is from Blitzcrank. So you have to redo Blitzcrank positioning based around that. Sometimes it just doesn't work. So I guess it just fixed the bug there. Okay. Wow, what's the first thing? The new drop mechanic is unneeded and honestly terrible. It's going to be really frustrating to components combined to an item I simply don't need. Can't wait to get a Night Spatula off one of my drops. I want a Hurricane and it gives me a Night Spatula. It's gonna be great. Yeah, I don't know if I like this. We'll play with it. My initial thoughts are it's probably not necessary in the game, but we'll play with it. What did the patch actually do? They nerfed a lot of the important units. Buff stuff like brands. MF nerfed Karthus, Kale, Cho'gath. Made the late game better to play. Buffed some assassins. Nerf Braum, buffed Elise, made nerf 3 sorcerers. Generally speaking, outside of potentially, I don't know how good demons are, and I don't know how good Hextech is. It seems like a good patch. There's some things that I feel like they're not. I don't know if I like Earth Overtime. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's probably gonna come in too soon. I don't know if I like disabling 8 seconds of items. I think that's way too long. Like 4 and then 8 probably makes a lot more sense. I do like that I don't know how good Hush is going to be. I do like how they nerfed Morello's and Red buff. Pretty important. Like they buff Locket. Generally speaking, every single patch I've liked what they do. There's some things in this patch that I feel like they don't really understand what makes them good. Like for instance, GA, which I feel like it's still gonna be good because just the mana retention alone, the ability for you to cast another ulti or one guaranteed ulti every fight is worth a lot. And then nerf to Shiv and buff. This is interesting. So I'm kind of on the fence on the new drop mechanic, on the fence on the new Hush, on the fence on the new Hextech. But aside from that, everything else seems pretty good. Okay, that wasn't that long, right?